Okay, hello class. Welcome to the third live session. Today is the July 18th, 2020, and we are going to review the team project requirements. First thing first, I would like to ask all of you to just introduce yourself and let me know what's your topic and what's your group. Leonard, you want to go first? Please, group number and topic project. Leonardo, are you going to go? I can't hear you. Maybe you are muted. I cannot hear you at all. Let's go with Tiffany and you go back. Tiffany, do you like to tell me more about your group and then the topic and then a few just short talk about your team?
I am part of group 4. And we are going to be comparing MRI and CT scans in like a traditional setting versus a mobile setting.
Okay, and any problem with the team so far?
No, our team has been very good. We've been having open dialogue, open communication, so we're doing well.
Okay, great. Leonardo, can you hear me now? I cannot hear you, and then let's go to Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, can you hear me? I don't hear you. Sarah, can you hear me? Okay, Tiffany, you can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, maybe there's some problem with their system. So I'm gonna go ahead to go through the team project, and during this call, this presentation, if you have any question, you can ask me, this is fine. Okay, let me share my screen and then go through the team project. The team project is worth 20% of your grade, and so this is really important, but there's a few requirements. First, at the end of the team project, all of you need to submit a peer evaluation for yourself and all of your team members. So every member should receive at least 50% of the peer evaluation. The peer evaluation between 0 and 100. So if there is any member of the team that you don't see any good contribution, and this is your right to submit for him or her not very good peer evaluation. So this is usual. This is expectation to also. I expect you also grade yourself. For example, if all of your team members give you 90 and you give yourself 100, so your average score should be 490 plus 100, 460 divided by 155, it's going to be 93. But if you don't give credit to yourself, so you're going to be 90. So my recommendation for all of you is just please submit the peer for yourself as well. Most of the team are working very well, but anyhow, there's a few members for each team that they didn't have a good contribution so far by now. Hopefully they have improved the contribution. Otherwise, you cannot get 20% job. You're great. Let me go through the instruction. There is a team project instruction in the class. First thing, first team agreement. In the team agreement, you should define your role, your responsibility, and the delivery time for each section. For example, if you are responsible to summarize a paper, so you should stay with your responsibility and then submit at the right time. Also, if any member of the team has not good contribution, then the other team member should cover that part. Otherwise, I mean, it's not possible that submit a team project without any section. For example, I'm responsible for introduction, and for any reason I'm not participating. I still expect to see the introduction. So if I'm not submitting as a team member, so other team members should work on that part. That's a reason we are going to look at the team agreement, and please do not stop. Do not stay until the last minute to get your team project done, because the last due time for the team project is end of week 7. But I highly recommend all of you to have this by end of week 6, and just review and fix and edit during the week 7. After week 7, there's no chance to update the team project because you should focus on your final exam. So all of the teams already submitted the topic. I approved the topic. So then you should go with the introduction. For individual assignment 1 and 2, I did not require any member to work on the introduction. Actually, it was a very short introduction, but for the team project, this is 2 sections. The first section is a qualitative part, literature reviewed, and the second section is a quantitative part. All of you working already on the 2 assignment 1 and 2 for the quantitative sections. So I don't expect to see any problem there, but I'm available after my talk if you have any question for that part as well. For the literature review, the first section, that's the qualitative section, I do expect to just review 5 peer-reviewed articles for each team. So first, you should select the articles. Second, you should summarize each article, and the summarization should not be more than 1 page for each article. But for that, you should make sure that cover everything, including a short introduction, research hypothesis or research question for that paper, method section, data, year of data, research method findings, discussion, and make sure to add a citation for that paper. So in 1 page summary for each paper. So we're gonna have, each time we should have 5 articles, and each article will have 1 page summary. So it's gonna be 5-page summary. Before starting working on this, one of the team members should work on the introduction. The introduction should be 2 or 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph should discuss the importance of the topic. For example, if you are working on MRI and CT, and the topic should start with some sentence about the why MRI, why CT, and then you go deep on this issue. What's the main issues in this MRI and CT? For example, you can address some kind of cost, some kind of I don't know if you already passed the health class, for example, some moral hazard, something like that. I don't like to talk so technically, but so make sure to define your topic. And at the last paragraph of the introduction, states that in this study, what you are going to do. For example, for the MRI CT, in this study, you're going to compare the MRI and CT, you're going to review a few articles, and then you're going to compare your findings with the articles you found, or you summarize to see the differences between your topic and the literature review. For each article, after summarizing the article, you should complete the bias table. The bias table should include 5 main types of biases: selection bias, performance bias, detection bias, attribution bias, and reporting bias. And please review week 7. There is a section for systematic review, and there is a document to review and to find more about the type of bias. Also, it's possible to, if you search and Google it for the different type of bias, you can see a handbook run, and then in that handbook you can see the table 8.4. More likely 8.4, maybe 8.3. There is a bias assessment tools. That's for your information, but you can define the bias based on the definition I provided in the team instruction. Selection bias, if there's a systematic difference between baseline characteristics of the groups that are compared. For example, if you are reviewing an article that the article is a cohort study, and in that cohort study, and there is a two population, one, for example, let's look at the a cohort study to test the COVID-19 vaccine. And so on that COVID, we have a sample control, and we have a intervention group. And for any reason, a researcher did not control for the environment, did not control for the age of the population, did not control for the timing of being infected. So this is a clear message for selecting the population. This is a clear message of selection bias. And that's one of the main reasons, and we have a lot of problems with most of the vaccine. Already are doing they are testing them. The other is a performance bias. That the performance bias, you should look at the systematic differences between group in the K, that is provider or institute factor. Okay, I explain here. So, whenever you have a problem with the selection bias, more likely you have a problem with the performance bias, because whenever there's a problem with the population, for sure there's a problem with sample in each population. And detection bias is systematic differences between groups in how outcomes are determined. For example, in the example of the COVID-19, if we check in the intervention group, if the study check the symptom like fever, and in the control group, they check a symptom like coughing. So they are not doing the same symptom, for example, for the two different groups. So, they are checking two different outcomes for two different populations. So this, and then they conclude that, okay, the symptom has not been shown, or just the symptom have been removed, and but they check two different outcomes. This is the example of the detection bias. Okay, and for the attrition bias, there's a systematic differences between group in withdrawal from a study. Okay, also, let's go back on the same COVID. And you see, for example, they invited 100 people for the intervention. They invited 100 people for the control group. And for any reason, 25% of the population in the intervention group have not participated, and 10% of 50% of the control group have not been participation for any reason. So there is a differences. One group is a 50%, one group 25%. So at the end, the sample reduced to 75 and 50. This is another type of the bias, it's an attrition bias. And finally, the reporting. In the same example I'm providing, so they having till now, for example, an example I'm providing have 4 different types of bias, and at the end, they concluded 70% of vaccine have been tested, we get a positive response. And then based on this, they concluded, okay, the vaccine has very good results. And they suggested, okay, we can go into the mass production for this vaccine. This is a clear example of a cohort study with 5 different types of bias. So it was an example. And so whenever you have this when you are reading a study. So you should consider this type of bias. The type of bias in a non-scientific way is what is the challenge with the paper, why you cannot trust the result of this paper, why we cannot modify the result, why another study are not able to do the same thing and get the same result. So these are the, for that reason, the statistic, we are going to check the validity and reliability of a tool. So it's happening on the method section, but in non-scientific way, the bias is any reason that make you unhappy with the result of the, unhappy in the scientific way with the result of the paper. So whenever you are reading a paper, your role is a reviewer of the paper. You are going to critique the paper as hard as possible to get the different type of bias. So whenever you have a bias, so you have one paper, I'm reading that paper, and so it was my judgment, right? I read that paper and I say, in this paper, have all type of the bias here. It was my judgment based on my information and based on my reading. So I'm going to complete a table like this. But this is only for me. For each paper, two members should review the paper and then add their judgment here. So for example, Tiffany going to review the same paper and say, okay, also it's incorrect. So this is 10. I don't see any problem here, but I see the problem here. I don't see a problem here. I see a problem here, and I see a problem here. So so two members of the teams already reviewed this, but there's no good conclusion here, because for the selection bias, we have one yes, one no. I don't know, is it yes or no? For the performance bias, I have two yes. The two yes is yes. For the detection bias, I have yes and no. For attrition and for the reporting bias, we are clear. So that's the reason I'm going to ask to, for example, another team member, Emmanuel, to say, okay, Emmanuel, you read this paper and give me your feedback. Emmanuel is going to review this paper and say, okay, this is a clear bias here. This is no bias here. This is no bias here. This is no bias here. And this is a bias here. So based on these three information here I can say, okay, I have two yes, one no, and my response to this is yes. This is the bias here. I have two yes, one no. I see there's a bias here. I have one yes, two no. I say there's no bias here. I have two yes, one no. There is one bias here, and there's a bias here. So the third person is a tiebreaker. So if there's a problem with this review, the third person is going to be involved. But by default, two members are enough for this section. So whenever you have all of them, let me copy this paper, this table to Excel. Let's see. The class, I decided to remove the Revman because that software is so slow. So I'm going to show you how to use Excel to create the plots. So you have this one here, and here the yes, you have no, and you have U. The yes is for high risk of bias, no is for low risk of bias, and the Y or U is for not sure, is it bias or it's not. So you imagine that all the people are just reading this, and for example, for this paper, you have, I'm going to go with the numbers here. I have two yes, one no. For every yes, you give one, and for every no, you give zero. So if you have two yes, one no, you have two. I have two yes, one no, you have two here. You have one here. You have two here, and you have three here. You say there's other papers, so you're going to review that. So these are all of the example, so there's not real data. Let's see, all of them is no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, and this is yes, yes, and this is yes. So you are reviewing that and you complete this. I'm gonna give you an example. For this, I have 2 yes, all of them is 2. This is 1, this is 2. I have 2. I have 1, I have 2, and for this, I have 2, 2, 2, I have 1, and I have 1. For this, I have 2, I have 1. If you go with the average of the sum of all of this, you have this paper 10. This is an example of not carefully reviewing the paper because you are not able to rank the paper. So I'm going to review that one more time. I'm going to decide to see, okay, this is more likely the no, and then the no is going to be 0. I'm going to review this and make sure, okay, this is yes, no. I'm going to change this to 1. This is a very good paper. There is no bias here. I'm going to give it 0 for this. And this is the last paper is the same here. Okay, again here, so it's better now. So let's see, the first paper is received the highest grade. The highest grade doesn't mean it's really bad paper because the low quality paper, let's not say good and bad, low quality paper. And so, and then you are able to rank them using this scale. Go with a different approach. Maybe this is the way you can go with this. Let's go with this one. Okay, we should change this. Clear roles. I'm gonna select the roles that the lowest should receive. This is, yeah, okay, this is better. The red one is the low, it's the paper with high risk of bias. The 2 are the same, and this is the best paper here. Based on this information, you should, this is for each article, and then you can go ahead and compute this for the average ones. We'll get average here. Based on this analysis, you can say the most common biases in 5 articles was the selection bias, and then the reporting bias. The lowest ratio of bias should be performance bias here, and there is an equal percentage for the detection and attrition bias. And then when you finished your summary, you should report this table and one closing summary. The closing summary, you should have 1 paragraph to discuss about all findings of all 5 articles. I mean, all findings, all discussion you have. For example, if you are, none of the team choose the COVID, but if, for example, you are choosing the COVID, is it a COVID, is it airborne or no? And then you find 3 articles that say is airborne and 2 articles they say no. Then you can say most articles say the COVID is airborne. And then you can add more discussion of, for example, these 3 articles have include 300 population and 200, 2 articles they say no, they include 1,000 observation. So, and then you can say, okay, based on our understanding, we have more population when they say there is no airborne. And then our conclusion is the COVID is no airborne virus. And then you're going to report this, but after that you're going to say, okay, even we control the quality of paper, and I see none of this paper was the highest quality paper. So based on this, I can say, based on the evidence we have searched, we cannot conclude that the virus is airborne or it's not. But more likely, Most of the paper shows this, but if you go with the population size, most of the papers say no. This is kind of the quantitative approach for a qualitative analysis. Okay, let me repeat that. This is a quantitative approach for a qualitative analysis because we have 5 reviews and then we concluded based on the numbers. This is this approach. So you should report that here. And then when you finish that section, so you are going to the section 2. The section 2 is really, really similar to individual assignment 1 or 2. You should go ahead and then discuss, report your research question, report method section, describe the data, complete a table like this, describe the variable you included, describe your findings, and report a table like this. If you have a plot, add a plot here, and conclusion, and conclude and discussion. This is the important part. For individual assignment 1 and 2, your conclusion was only based on your findings. But for team project, you have your own findings based on the data, and you have the findings based on the literature review. So you should compare your results with the literature. For example, if you are comparing MRI and CT and you found that more likely most hospitals have a more higher procedure for MRI, but in all of 5 articles you have searched, they said, okay, all of the hospital has lower MRI procedure. You should discuss why your result is different with the findings of literature. Is it because your data is old, for example, because we are using 2012 data, but all the literature use the most recent data? Or because they are, for example, the MRI procedure, because, for example, one of your papers work on the patient level data, but your analysis is based on the county level data, and you can tell that if you go back to the paper and see, okay, number of observation, because usually in the method section of each paper, you can see, is it a which level patient level analysis or the county level analysis, because we have about 3,030 counties in the US, but we have 3.4 million population. So I do expect the patient level data has a much higher population than county level, but it's not one reason. Maybe there is a study at the patient level with only 100 population. You should review the method section very carefully to make sure what's the reason. So this is the conclusion and discussion. That's the difference between the current team project and your individual assignment. Based on all the topics you have, so you have 1 paragraph to discuss the findings from the literature review. You have 1 paragraph to discuss your findings, and you have 1 comparison, 3 paragraph max for this concluded discussion, and very short 2 or 3 policy suggestions at the very end. So maximum 4 paragraphs, and I consider the last one as a conclusion. And then you can just divide to the discussion and conclusion. It's okay, but you could have discussion and conclusion in the same section as well. And at the very end of this section, please add a limitation. And the limitation should be something that, for example, this is only a class project. We only review 5 articles. This is not a really systematic review because there's no a search strategy, because in the real systematic review, you should have a search strategy. You should make sure how many articles have been chosen by you, and then why, for example, 100 articles, why not 200? So this is the real environment, but for now, you are just working on the 5 articles only. Also, this is there is no payment for this study, so I don't expect that a lot of time and effort for this, except for the school. So that's another limitation. Or you can find another limitation. For example, if you don't have a great contribution from the team, and this is another limitation for this. But the limitation is the way you are thinking that if that was not appear in this your paper, you could expect to have the high quality paper or the paper that's more valid paper. So maybe that's better than high quality, more valid paper, because I or anyone else that reads your paper should be able to duplicate the results based on your meta section. And then make sure to report the list of references. I know still a school moved to APS 7, but for now this is okay if you stay with this APS 6. I don't have any issue with that. I like to see other section. I'm not gonna reduce any credit if you are not moving between 6 and 7. This is all I want to say about the team project. So I'm here for any questions if you have. No questions, class?
So my question, right, is in regards to for the chart, when we are reviewing each person's article, so for each member, we just need to review 2 articles, you said? Or every article from each personal?
Each member, if you have 5 members, each member is responsible for summarizing 1 article.
Yes.
But each member is responsible for reviewing 2 articles for bias.
Okay.
It is up to, because you have 5 articles, and then if you divided your work for example, you have 5 members and 3 members are working on the literature review, 1 member is working on the quantitative section, and 1 member is working on introduction and the discussion, and then you have 3 members. So 3 members should summarize the 5 articles, and each of them should review at least 2 or 3 articles, right?
Okay.
It is really depends on the team project. I agree.
Okay. That was my only problem.
I don't expect to say, okay, who reviewed this? But there's no need to say, okay, for example, X and Y review this stuff. There's no need for that.
Okay, no problem.
It really depends on the team, because I'm going to review the peer evaluation from you. So my judgment is based on your judgment of each of them.
Okay.
But I listen carefully to the team leader. I expected the team leader to have one closing, so maybe peer evaluation for just because that's important for me.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any other question?
Professor, this document that you're using, is that available in the classroom somewhere so that we make sure we're doing?
I believe it is, but if not, I believe it's here. I believe it's here. The team project, right? This is here. Step-by-step team assignment. See, this is in the class discussion panel, and if you go to the instruction, this is here. This is the same document. Review this. Let me open to this and make sure this is the same. This is it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And okay, if any of you decided to work, most of the class are working on the Excel, but if any of you decided to work on the RStudio and you need the codes for the team project, please send me an email. I will send the code to you. Also, if you have any question for the quantitative section for your team project, also don't hesitate to contact me. Any other questions, class? Any question regarding to the exercises? No questions? If there is no questions here, I'm gonna review just the week 5, the exercise 5. In the exercise 5, we are looking at the logit model. I'm going to review the RStudio. Any of the members in the call are using RStudio? No one? No participants using RStudio?
I'm not.
Okay. If none of you are using RStudio, so I'm not going to review this here because there is a video in the class. You can watch that. Okay, but let me talk short about this. The exercise 5, you should work on the logit model, but if you are using, most of you are using Excel, you can still stay with regression model. And for the regression model, the point is you have, let me review we have lots of file open here and working so paper. Okay, let's see the class. Go to the class. Week 5, this is here. If you are using RStudio, then you should work on this part, model 1, and this is the logit model using the system membership and the hospital bed for profit, non-profit, and other. And as you know, the non-profit is a reference group here, so there is no coefficient affiliated with that. This is the model. You have this one. Let me go review so fast. You have this model, right? This is the model. You have system member ownership one. This is the same. Let me see. I will go back to this later. System member owner 1, a hospital. The owner 1 is defined as 0 non-profit as a reference, for profit, public, other. So as you see here, based on the result of this, the first one, for profit, less likely to have previous system members. And the owner 3, the other less likely to be, and that's a significant. And for the second model, if you include the other variable total revenue, and then you see the total revenue is a negative with system members. The reason is most of the non-profit are part of that because all of them for-profit was not affiliated. And the last one, if you include the other Medicare ratio, you see still ownership is negative, and -1, beds negative, and positive revenue is negative, and then this is significant. And the question asks you about the AIC. The AIC is reporting here, and the AIC is a measure of the, because for the regression we have R-square, right? For the AIC in the logit model, with lower AIC, we expected to see best fit model. For example, look at 360, 3622. We have 3700. We have 3706. So this is the best fit model based on the result. If you go back to Excel, for the Excel user, you should run a logit model being a member of net and find out the impact of hospital cost. Okay, I asked you to run the same regression model, because if you want to run the logit model in Excel, you should pay for that. I don't expect you to do that, but you should have a system member as a one variable. After that, hospital cost. After that, hospital revenue. After that, Medicare and Medicare ratio, and you computed the discharge ratio for exercise 4. So you should have the order like this. You should have the system member. This is the formula for that. This is actually the linear model, the regression. I'm going to show you the linear model for that. A system member is a membership equal to the function based on the Excel. Function of the beds, right? Of the hospital. cost. Beta 1 cost plus beta 2 revenue plus beta 3 Medicaid plus beta 4 Medicaid. So you should have the same order to get this done. And then when you have this, please populate a table. Don't submit the Excel file. Please populate a table. Okay, we are at the end of this meeting. If you have any question, I'm here to answer your question. If there's no question, thank you for your participation. This is the end of this live session. I'm gonna post this to the class.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Leonard.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Goodbye.
Okay.
Class, this is the end of live session. Goodbye. Have a good day.